Hello everybody, welcome back to another video where I talk over a game. And today I want to talk about neurodivergency and aging, and not in the usual way. I don't know if there is a usual way, but in the way that I wanted to talk about it. And mostly that as a neurodivergent person, you probably have a mindset that is younger than your physical age. And I'm not really sure if that is actual mental age or if that has to do with the fact that our neuroplasticity is a little different than that of the average person. Because I'm pretty sure people who are on the spectrum have a higher neuroplasticity, meaning that we are more flexible when it comes to certain new developments, even though a lot of us do have issues with things changing. That we tend to go with the, new developments in society a little faster. Or maybe I should say we're not really that set in our ways in other ways. Like when things happen in society, new developments, etc., new technologies, we're less likely to shut it out. Like people still using a landline nowadays when everybody else has already switched to mobile phones, that type of thing. That's not necessarily the type of aging that I wanted to talk about. What I mean more is that in our minds we probably feel a lot younger, a lot more flexible than eventually our bodies become, because of course natural age sets in. And even though there are some people out there saying that people on the autism spectrum don't live past the age of 50 or whatever it is that they're saying right now, they've got a few videos out there where they're basically being very alarmist and saying that people don't make it past the age of 39 or whatever it is that they got now. That's not correct, by the way, but that's a different matter. When you do reach that impossible age, things start to change physically because your body is a certain age and it will continue to age as long as you're still breathing. And that means certain natural processes take their place. And that means you may start to notice things about yourself that you never thought would happen to you, because that's just how people think. Like, all the bad stuff happens to other people. I'll be good. I'm feeling good now. That means I'm going to feel good forever, etc., etc. Spoiler alert, most people think that, so you're not really special there. So the thing is, like with myself, I noticed that my vision is changing. I wouldn't say that it's bad. It's more like I'm more far-sighted than I was before, which is kind of odd because at a distance everything looks perfectly fine, but up close, if I want to read like small print, that's starting to look a little bit vague. And well, I do recall that both my parents had either reading glasses or just wore contacts 24/7. That doesn't mean that I automatically assumed that that was going to be me. Well, part of me, I guess, kind of knew it, but I wasn't really paying attention to that. In any case, I thought that was going to be something that was going to happen after my 50s or something, and not in the middle of my 40s where I am now. And then something like that might become like a hyper focus for you for a while to try and figure out what's going on. Can I do something about it myself? Because obviously I don't really want to go to the doctor because that's stress. You have to call and make an appointment, which is already annoying because you have to sit and wait for however long around here. You have to wait like half an hour to an hour before somebody even answers the phone so you can make an appointment. And you have to go there and they start asking all sorts of annoying questions that you don't really feel like answering because it's a little bit too private, etc., etc. So the first thing I do is look online to see if anybody else has similar issues. What did they do? What can you do? Are there things that you can like maybe take into account? Get one of those blue light blocking glasses, sit further away from your monitor, do exercises with your eye muscles, all these different things, because I don't really like the idea of needing reading glasses at 46. There are, of course, people who need reading glasses sooner than that, so it's not like I'm saying that the age is an issue for somebody to get reading glasses, but me personally, I didn't expect to need them yet at this point. So little things like that will start to sneak in, and like I said, that might actually become a hyper focus. You start to really try to figure it out, to the point where I even have like a set of pinhole glasses sitting around because people have actually talked about how that made their vision better when it doesn't actually train your eye at all. Some people seem to think that it does. And then you got all these YouTube doctors that are saying that is absolutely not the case, because actually prescription glasses are the ones that train your lens because they give like a different focal point or whatever it is that they're saying. And these these pinhole glasses may not seem to be harmful. They also do not actually change anything about your eyesight issues. But then in the comment section, you see people going off about how they've been using them for ages and they're like 70 plus and their eyesight is great and they just use them every day for like 10 minutes and they don't need glasses and stuff like that. So I'm thinking there is something to that. And now this is actually turned into a eyeglasses thing discussion right now, but it's something that you might not expect that you may need to prepare for. And then by preparing, I mean take care of your health as much as you can, because the older you get, you're probably going to end up with issues that you cannot solve yourself, and then you will have to go and contact somebody about it. And I think that's also where that whole idea of people on the autism spectrum don't live past a certain age comes from, because we tend to avoid healthcare or contacting healthcare, because a lot of that is about, you need to call this number. And I really hate phones. I just don't like them. I don't like that I have to quickly reply to people's questions. I'll often stumble on my words and I'll feel like an idiot. And then beforehand, I'll feel like it's too much pressure to even pick up the phone. And so I'll put off the call for a very long time until I can't anymore. Blah, 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 stuff like that. So you can avoid most of that. Well, I wouldn't say most, I don't really know your situation, but you could avoid at least some of that if you just took care of your health now while you're still young, if you're still in that category. Look up all the things that are good for your eye health, for your brain health, for your gut health, all these different things, and try to cut out your worst habits so you don't have to deal with a lot of stuff later down the line. Now, I have to say, for being 46, I'm actually doing pretty good. Like, if I see people complaining online who are just 30-somethings, I'm in much better shape than them, so there's that. So that's good. So I'm still doing some preventative care for other things that are not my eyesight, but I would have liked things surrounding my eyes to have been better as well. Now, I don't know if I've particularly strained them in the past. I have spent a lot of time looking at computer monitors, of course, growing up, but I would expect that to have affected me a lot sooner, because I think we got a computer in the house in 1986, and I haven't really not looked at a computer screen every day since then, with the exception of the occasional holiday where we just didn't have access to computers. So if it was going to ruin my eyesight, it would have done that a long time ago. So I think this is just natural progression of the aging process that may have been avoided if I just did more eye exercises, just actually focused on doing eye exercises, had more screen discipline in the evenings, like occasionally looked away from screens a couple of minutes a day to make sure that I wasn't like staring at things that were too close. Just saying, when you get older, you're going to have some issues, no doubt. I would not sit around expecting issues, because you'll probably just end up focusing on things that you maybe don't even need to worry about, and not worry about things that you probably should be. So, and with us being on the spectrum, we also need to be mindful that sometimes we do need to contact people about certain issues, that we cannot handle everything ourselves. We can, of course, do quite a bit with our hyperfocus on certain topics, to research particular topics of interest to us, to maybe help with things like that beforehand. But it's always going to be a balance between doing your exercises, just experiencing aging naturally, and occasionally going to those annoying doctor's visits if you really need to. I haven't been to the doctor, knock on wood, in a while. I don't really know exactly when the last time was. I think it was way back in the early 2000s when I fell off a horse and I had like numbness in one of my legs for a while. Like, I could move my leg, but the muscle was stunned effectively. So I went to the doctor for that, because that was something I couldn't handle. And then he forwarded me to a physiotherapist. So I didn't even really need the doctor, except for to forward me to another healthcare provider. But so far I've been pretty good with other things. And like I said, I'm 46, and a lot of people in their 30s are complaining about my back, my knee, and I haven't actually had that experience. So just make sure to stay active, be mindful of what you do, because we do tend to sit in a very pretzel-y way. Some of us do have a certain way of sitting that is definitely not good for your back. So occasionally try to change the way you sit, or try sitting in the opposite direction so you can kind of stretch the other muscles that are currently being underworked, things like that. We have to really keep an eye on that if we want to not have to pick up the phone to call a healthcare provider to help us with our issues. I think I'm rambling, that I've been all over the place, so I'm just going to call it here for now. In any case, I don't know how old you are, but have you actually experienced any aging symptoms? How are you dealing with that? I would love to hear that in the comment section below. For now, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, and bye-bye.